Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Greater Cleveland Fisher House ribbon cutting ceremony. I'm Lori Stokes, co-anchor for Good Day New York on Fox 5 in New York City, but my heart is here in Cleveland. I was born here. I'm the daughter of Congressman Louis Stokes, and I am honored to be your MC. Would you please rise and remain standing for the presentation of colors by the U.S. Coast Guard 9th District and the singing of the national anthem by Monica Robbins from your very own WKYC Channel 3.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Monica. Please remain standing for the invocation from Chaplain Amanda Nagy. Chaplain Nagy will be responsible for providing spiritual care to families staying at the Fisher House. Chaplain.
Good morning. Please join me for a few moments of reflection and intention as I offer these words of prayer. Welcoming Spirit, eternal Comforter, whom we invoke by many names and call upon in varied moments of life, we call upon you now to bless these two Fisher houses. May this be a home, whether it lasts for a few nights or a few weeks, to all who need. Those who sleep under its roof come to support and care for our nation's veterans in their times of illness and in the hope of healing. They come from great distances, called by the love they hold for their veteran. Great Creator, we take this moment to bless these Fisher houses. May they be a home away from home to all who come. May they be a place of comfort in an unfamiliar place. Bless these buildings with strong and sturdy walls, protecting all who dwell within. Bless the roof, may it shelter all who come beneath it. Bless the kitchens, may they provide nourishment in body and spirit. Bless the staff who will fill this place with compassion. May these dwellings be warm and safe, a sanctuary for all those in need. May they be filled with love and joy to sustain us through the uncertain and fearful times. May the beauty of the rooms and the grounds remind us of the hope that lives on. May these buildings be home. Bless them and keep them. May it be so. Amen.
My father, Congressman Stokes, was a World War II veteran, was a passionate advocate for our nation's heroes. He taught us to appreciate our veteran service and sacrifice, and he was honored to have the Cleveland VA named after him. If he were here today, I know he would be in awe of the tremendous institution it has become and the community who supports the veterans served here. I am certain he's looking down on us today, very proud of you and all that you've done to support our veterans and the work you did to bring the Fisher House to Cleveland. And I know this to be true because when he died almost 4 years ago, and I was in his office in his home in Pepper Pike, and on his desk were various brochures and flyers about the Fisher House. And at the time, as I was going through so much, it didn't register. But he was always a visionary and always thinking, what more could he do to help our servicemen and women? And so today it makes perfect sense why it was on top of his desk. He would also be especially honored to meet Mrs. Samantha Turnbull and her husband, U.S. Army active duty Captain Jonathan Turnbull, here in the front row. She is the very first Greater Cleveland Fisher House guest, checking in just last night. And she'll be staying with us to support her husband, who will be receiving care at the Cleveland VA Medical Center over the next few months. We look forward to supporting you during your stay. Would you stand? Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce VA Northeast Ohio Healthcare System Director, Mrs. Susan Fuhrer. Sue has been with the VA in Cleveland since May of 1986. She is a leader and a visionary for VA Northeast Ohio, seeing the organization through a period of dramatic growth and the development of cutting-edge technology that has put our VA leagues beyond other VA hospitals. She has established the organization as a quality leader in healthcare throughout VA and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, Susan Fuhrer.
Thank you. And Lori, I know your dad is here. If you've been into the medical center, you see the lovely portraits of Congressman Stokes. And it's the first thing I see every morning. And it inspires all of us to do the harder right, because that's what Congressman Stokes did. So I know he is here, and I'm going to give him credit for this lovely weather, because it has been a really soggy spring in Cleveland, and having a big party like this outside, it's wonderful to see the sun. You know, as I look out, all I can think of is just, wow. Who was here just a little over a year ago when it was cold and just about snowing when we were breaking ground? Please raise your hand, right? Look at what a few 15 months can do in Northeast Ohio with a heavy lift from the community and an even heavier lift from the Fisher Family Foundation. The homes are gorgeous. Someone told me today when they walked in, they had tears in their eyes, and they said, "This is not what you expect, but this is what you hope the community would do for our nation's heroes." And the community came through with flying colors. Anyone disagree? No, right? Absolutely gorgeous. And don't our nation's heroes and their families deserve every bit of it? So, this wouldn't have happened with just about the help from every single person that is here today. I mean, everybody had a piece in making this happen. But we do have some people that I would like to recognize. First, Fisher House Foundation Chairman and CEO Ken Fisher. Mr. Fisher, thank you very much. Thanks to the Fisher Family Foundation. I believe the statistic I heard last night was 9 million stays across the country for families in for families in Fisher homes. 9 million stays a year. Wow. Ms. Lisa Pape is here. Lisa and I go way back to when we were or at least I was younger. She still looks great. She is here from Washington, D.C., but she actually established the first homeless domiciliary in VA right here at the Cleveland VA Medical Center 28 years ago. And her title is Deputy Chief for Patient Care Services, and she's representing VA Secretary. Thank you, Lisa, for coming. Shella Stovall, my boss. Shella, please stand. She's the acting VISN director. She's from Salt Lake City, but she has come to the Midwest to take care of us. And we have a tremendous number of Senate and congressional representatives here today. If you could please raise your hand. Representatives from Senator Brown's office. Thank you. Senator Portman's office. I saw Michael's there, and thank you guys, Carolyn. Congresswoman Kaptur's office, Jacob. Congressman Ryan's office. Congressman Jordan's office. Yes. Congresswoman Fudge's office. Thank you very much. Hi, guys. Congressman Gibbs' office. Thank you. Congressman Johnson's office. Yay. Congressman Joyce's office. Thank you. And Congressman Gonzalez's office. I saw Brian here. Brian, thank you very much for coming. We get such strong support from Congress and Senate, and so it means a lot that you guys are here. Thank you very much. We do have in the audience Rear Admiral Cottrell and Captain Cooper from the U.S. Coast Guard, 9th District. Are you guys here? Thank you. Thank you for your service. Welcome to Cleveland. From the state of Ohio, we have Secretary of State, Frank LaRose, a veteran also. Sir, thank you very much for your service. From the Department of Veterans Service Director, Deborah Ashenhurst is here from Columbus. Director Ashenhurst, thank you very much. Tammy Puff from Governor Mike DeWine's office. Tammy, thank you very much. You know, someone that this certainly would not have happened without, the City of Cleveland Mayor Frank G. Jackson. Mayor, thank you. Mayor Jackson is a Vietnam veteran, and he continuously reaches out to serve the veterans in this community. And we are so very fortunate to have a veteran helping to take care of veterans in Northeast Ohio in the City of Cleveland. Lost my place. City of Cleveland City Council President Kevin Kelly. Kevin, thank you very much. Cuyahoga County Council Jack Schron. And another person that this would not have happened without, and that is my dear friend, Gus Frangos from the Cuyahoga County Land Bank. Gus, thank you very, very much. John Analifo from the Famicos Foundation. John, thank you. We have a current and a past board of the Greater Cleveland Fisher House. And so Rick DeShant, Doug Harvey, and Ron Schwackenwald. Tom, Sweeney, did you come? Are you here, Tom, somewhere? So I'm going to just pause. Without Tom, this would not have happened either. So those that are a little long in the tooth, you'll remember Tom when he was a news anchor. He did the very first video of families that had stayed at various Fisher houses. And I have to tell you, that was extremely powerful as we raised our $3 million. And we have the current board, Tim Graylis, Teresa Krizak, and Destiny Burns. So thank you guys for taking on the helm. We have Mike Parks here from the Greater Cleveland chapter of the American Red Cross. Mike and Jessica, thanks. And Sharon, thanks for everything that you do. And all my veteran service organizations. There are too many of you to name. Thank you for everything that you've done for the Fisher House and for the VA. You guys are like family. And these veteran service officers are here. Rolling Thunder, American Legion, DAV. They have raised money. Women have sold baked goods. They've had spaghetti dinners. They are here on Christmas Day. They are here on New Year's Eve, taking care of the 600 inpatients that in our facility, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. Thank you, service organizations, for everything that you do for your fellow veterans. May God bless all of you. And if I haven't named you already, but I think I've got you covered, including the VA staff who have worked really hard to make this happen. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you for supporting veterans. And all of us collectively are now friends of the Greater Cleveland Fisher House to do what is most important, take care of veterans and their families. So, you know, as I reflect, this has been a long time coming. And we almost thought that it was impossible because at the VA, the Cleveland VA, we take care of just about 114,000 unique veterans a year, over 2 million outpatient encounters across 20 locations of care throughout Northeast Ohio. I am proud to say that we are the only VA that has been 5-star quality since the inception. But most importantly, I compare our outcomes to those of any other hospital in the United States, non-VA or VA. Our nurses and doctors are second to none, and the care that they provide is absolutely fantastic. And there's just about nothing we don't provide, which means that we have a lot of veterans, like service member Trumbull, that come here to Cleveland for their care. And so with all the great amenities we have in the VA and the hospital, and all the state-of-the-art equipment, and all the specialized professionals, you know, the one thing we were lacking was this. Because what is the power of family, and what is the power of love on someone's ability to heal? I don't think you can measure it, but I have seen it over the last 3 decades, the power of love. And with these Fisher homes, I don't call them just a Fisher house because there's 2, which is really cool. Families can come and stay. They can be close to their loved ones. They can be close to the VA. And they can learn and talk and empathize with other family members that have gone through, are going through, or are about to go through things that most of us can never imagine. So if anyone thinks for a minute that these aren't important pieces in our ability to provide the very best care, you're absolutely wrong. And that's why this is so absolutely critical. And whether you were Gus Frangos that was trying, and Mayor Jackson, that were trying to piece together parcels of land. How many parcels is this? 17, I think, right? 17 little pieces that we had to get. Or you're making the spaghetti dinners, or you're the generous Fisher Foundation that had this great idea and decided to spend so much time and energy and money to make these happen across the country. Thank you, because it is certainly no small task. And it is something that will live on for years and years and years here in Northeast Ohio. So I mentioned Tom Sweeney. He's not here. He did a great job. Doug and Rick, thank you very much for everything that you did. You know, $3 million, when we were trying to raise $3 million, was a real tough lift in Northeast Ohio during recession. And Jennifer Kogut here from Washington is shaking her head because she knows it was a tough lift. And she was like, I think lots of times, like, are they going to be able to pull this off? And I'm on the other end of the phone thinking, are we going to be able to pull this off? Well, we did. And it's because of you guys. So to all of you, thank you. And may the warmth of these houses and the love that you have provided and that our community is going to fill with them, from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of the veterans of Northeast Ohio and beyond, their families and beyond, and the employees of the VA Northeast Ohio healthcare system, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And thank you, Sue. As many of you know, Fisher houses do not just appear overnight. There's a lot of planning, a lot of coordination and support involved, and probably more so here in Cleveland, from what I've heard. To tell Greater Cleveland Fisher House's story, we welcome Rick DeShant, one of the founding board members of the Greater Cleveland Fisher House Foundation, who has been involved from the very beginning. Rick DeShant.
All those dinners Sue mentioned, I was 20 pounds lighter when we started this too. I have eaten more Legion chicken, hot dogs, ribs than I care to know. How did this all begin? It was fall of 2010, and Susan had myself, Tom Sweeney, Ron at the time, Doug, you had just coming on board, to come over here to the VA to talk to us about this thing called the Fisher House. Sue and I had already established a great relationship. My normal job when I'm not playing a doctor on television is that I run all the veterans programs for Cuyahoga Community College. And thanks to the insightfulness and leadership of this woman, we became only the second college in the nation to establish a distance learning lab for disabled veterans inside a VA medical center. And it was fantastic until General Fuhrer came back to me and said, all right, DeShant, you got your learning lab. Now I need to talk to you about a Fisher House. And so we put the team together, and she mentioned the piece that was missing, and I think it's important. The way she described it was, we have developed and worked so hard to develop this mosaic of care for military and military families here, but I'm missing one big tile. I don't have a Fisher House. Can you as a team help? And so, two decorated Vietnam veterans, Tom Sweeney and Ron Schwackenwald, a former intern employee of the Fisher House, Doug Harvey, and one combat Coast Guardsman. We decided to take on the mission all ahead full. And Admiral, as a Coastie, we know how to do rescue. And so it started, 2010, 2011. And of course, those of you not from town who don't understand the philanthropic heritage of Cleveland, Cleveland stepped up as expected. The first and most surprising, and I have to point him out, Burning River Lacrosse, Mr. Woody Coleri, for 7 years did lacrosse tournaments, round-robin tournaments, and in that period alone raised $365,000 for the cause. Woody. And again, the roll call of the players who have always contributed. The KeyBank Foundation, Karen, they have just been phenomenal. The Eaton Corporation Foundation, the Lincoln Electric Foundation, Dominion Energy. Ben, where did Ben go? Oh, there he is. I see Tracy. Okay. Thank you so much. The Mount Sinai Healthcare Foundation, Sherwin-Williams, Lubrizol, the Harry Donovan family, a name known in veterans services in the Akron area, the Stillau Foundation, the Catherine L. and Edward Lozick Foundation, Swagelok, as you might know it. A family, this is an amazing one. I'm sitting at home doing the books. On a Saturday, I open this envelope. A retired couple from Cleveland living in Turtle Key, Florida. The TurtleCon Foundation. And there was a check for $100,000. The Disabled American Veterans Department of Ohio, not only your financial contribution, but when you walked in, you saw the lovely Ford Flex vehicle they donated to get our families out and showcase the Cleveland community to them. And secretly, once you stay in a Fisher House, you might want to think about staying in Northeast Ohio. Look at all we do for you. And the American Legion Department of Ohio, who just 2 weeks ago, also through extreme generosity, showed up with a contribution of $100,000. As noted by Susan, you can't do this without government support. Already recognized everyone from the Ohio delegation, the federal level, the state level, but specifically locally, Mayor Jackson, Councilman Conwell, and the Cuyahoga County Council, spearheaded by a veteran member, Jack Schron. It was their donation that put us over the $3 million mark. And the Schrons, I believe Kurt Schron is here. I know Jack couldn't make it today. There's Kurt. Thank you. Segues into the number of private family foundations that stepped up to contribute, starting with the Schron Foundation, the Lauschie Family Foundation, the Ratners, the Mandels, all names you know, and many of them through the Cleveland Foundation's donor-advised program. 200 plus small to mid-sized businesses, mom-and-pop operations from all over Northeast Ohio, and over 100 veteran service organizations, American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Disabled American Veterans, the Veteran Motorcycle Clubs. How many rode for us? Almost bought a motorcycle, didn't. And then folks like the Northeast Ohio Foundation for Patriotism, NEOPAT. Schools, fraternities, sororities. It was just amazing, the mix. These truly are the community's houses. The community did this. And when it comes to schools, I would be remiss if I didn't mention where I've been for the last 7 years on Veterans Day. Densler Elementary in Parma, Ohio, K through 3rd grade. For 7 years, every Veterans Day has done a bake sale and a walk through the neighborhood. And in that 7 years, those K through 3rd graders raised $12,000 for the Fisher House. As Director Fear noted, property. It got tricky for a bit, but Gus Frangos at the Land Bank, John Antalifo at the Famicos Foundation, again in partnership. And this day when all you hear on the news is lack of collaboration and partnership, we've got it here in Northeast Ohio. Don't let anyone kid you. Made it happen, and we can't thank you enough. I know a lot of work with Tom, a lot of meetings, a lot of coffee, and made that come together. It was a great story, and we couldn't have told it without the support of the media in this town. WKYC TV3, WEWS TV5, Fox 8, 1943, Channel 25, Brian Albrecht at the Plain Dealer. I hope Brian is here. Has just been phenomenal that we still have a daily paper who has an assigned military affairs reporter. John Titeman at DD 214. We're a community, one of few communities left that has an all-veterans newspaper. iHeartRadio. And then there were the people that came out of the work to help, and I see him here, George Karyatakis from TKO Marketing and Advertising, who provided counsel. I have a very bad habit. George knows what it is. I smoke cigars. I'm sorry. George is my connection. But George has also been a media mentor to us and working with iHeart, arranged for several $100,000 in free advertising through some of his, specifically the Subway franchisees of Ohio who donated cable TV spots to Fisher House. George made that happen, and George, thank you for being here today. What we have been able to establish, and you're going to hear a new brand name, and Mayor and Councilman, I don't know what's in the budget for street signs, but we have now, what has been able to be created here is what I call Cleveland's Corridor of Care for Veterans and Military Families. It starts right in front of the Lewis Stokes VA, and again, thanks to the folks from Neopat, where just a year ago we dedicated our Gold Star Families Memorial. That memorial sits right in front of the Lewis Stokes VA Medical Center. And now as you come up 105th, your two new Fisher houses. And Gus, I'm going to tip the cards a bit. I've just been informed of the additional property over here. Talks are underway, not yet solidified, potentially for a complex for homeless women veterans with children, transitional housing. Now, if that is not a corridor of care, with the end of the capital campaign, all of you in the military know we always felt change of leadership is good, fresh ideas, fresh thinking. So we made the decision to transition to the new board, taking on the operations of the House, and they have been introduced Tim Graylis, Air Force veteran, Therese Krzyzak, herself not a veteran, but her father a distinguished Navy veteran, and Therese is extremely active with the Polish Legion of American Veterans Women's Auxiliary, and for 7 years, has done a golf tournament for the Fisher House, raising close to $50,000, $60,000 in that time. Destiny Burns, who is a little under the weather, cannot be here, retired Navy officer, is also part of the new board. And I see Joe Wilgus is here from the advisory board from KeyBank. Joe, thank you for being here. So we're in good position to move things forward as the House is going to operation. When we started this thing, we thought we needed a mission, we needed some focus, and it was Tom Sweeney who said, do you remember World War II song or poem? We will wait for them and we will pray for them until they all come home. So we thought for a little bit, cantankerous veterans that we were, and said, you know, I think we can modify that, and let's use this as our mantra going forward. So it became, we will wait for them and we will pray for them until they all come home. And if they are broken, we will heal them. We will do it with the help of their families. We will do it with the help of the outstanding support of the Northeast Ohio community. And now we will do it with the help of their two new Fisher houses. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rick. As Rick and Sue both said so eloquently, the Fisher House is so much more than just a building. It really is a home, and the support that these homes provide for families caring for their loved ones truly helps in the healing process. Here to tell her story is U.S. Army veteran, former diplomat, and Cleveland local, Ms. Kelly Hunt, and her service dog, Kira, short for Shakira, and her parents, Dinah and Kenneth.
I'm so short. Right? Good morning, everyone. I am Kelly Hunt, a combat veteran and former diplomat. Thank you, I'm short. Thanks to my parents. I'm Kelly Hunt, a combat veteran and former diplomat stationed in Afghanistan during Operation Enduring Freedom. My first tour was as a soldier from September 2001 to 2005. And my second tour was as a public diplomacy officer for Department of State in 2012 and 2013. I am delighted to be here today at the new Cleveland Fisher Houses, with my amazing parents, Ken and Dinah. Please stand. My awesome service dog, Kira, short for Shakira, as she said, she likes to talk. Fisher House supporters and members of our community who made this all possible. Welcoming and celebrating the opening of these two instrumental facilities near one of the largest Veterans Administration hospitals in this nation is a heartwarming event and very personal to me. My family's story with the Fisher House began on April 6th, 2013. I was a diplomat, and a suicide bomber attacked our team of soldiers, diplomats, and Afghan partners. 2 IEDs were detonated as we were walking to our press conference when we were announcing a new program was becoming active in the region, My Afghan Library. The My Afghan Library project was connecting local schools with children's books written in their language, Pashto, to help support the advancement of education, such an important focus for the betterment of Afghanistan. 5 of my teammates were killed in that attack, and I was critically injured with a traumatic brain injury and damage to my hand, legs, and knee. I was in a coma, life-flighted to Germany for emergency surgeries. My parents received a phone call informing them about the attack and my medical status. Within 48 hours, my mom was on a flight to Germany, and she had just one goal: get there and be with her daughter. As you can imagine, there were a lot of emotions during that time, but my mom had a team. Everything was arranged in a multi-agency effort: her passport, flights, housing, currency, and more. Department of State, the FBI, Wounded Warrior Project, and the Fisher House came together to make our success happen. My mom arrived in Germany. She was escorted from the airport straight to the Fisher House, introduced to a room, and taken directly to the hospital that was just a short walk from the Fisher House, which was so convenient in the week I was there. I was in that hospital for about a week for life-saving surgeries. It was rare that my mom left the room when I was in a coma, very rare. But when she did, her Fisher House home and the facility was nearby for basic needs: a place to shower, eat, regroup, and grieve. When I was stabilized, I was transferred to the intensive care unit at Walter Reed Medical Hospital in Bethesda, Maryland, for continued care, where I remained for more than a month. My family was provided a room at the Fisher House. It was the same format as the Fisher House in Germany that made transition one of ease during this difficult time. This was a familiar setting where families who had their own wounded warriors receiving medical care welcomed my family. My family did not feel alone. The residents of these homes were a family of their own, offering support, guidance, advice, and an ear. This was one team at both Fisher Houses, a comfort that cannot be overlooked or underappreciated. This Fisher House environment made all the difference for my family. After surgeries, I went home to Sheffield Lake for my next chapter of recovery, with a partial skull and stunning helmet to keep it protected. I say that, yeah. Oh, that helmet. Anywho, 6 months later, we returned to Walter Reed for my cranioplasty, my partial skull replacement. And the Fisher House was again amazing, welcoming my mother, father, and sister to the home where I was undergoing procedures and during my recovery period. I was awake and functional at this point, and I loved being at the Fisher House, where my coworkers from Afghanistan, Washington, D.C., and my friends could come visit me on the patio like life was normal. We talked about our work, how our programs were progressing successfully. It meant the absolute world to me to be able to see my teammates in that comfortable setting. This time with my coworkers was game-changing because our work in Afghanistan meant so much. And knowing that my coworkers still thought of me as a relevant teammate who could help in our efforts even after being hurt so badly, I just can't tell you how much of a positive impact that made in my mental outlook. The Fisher House provided us that environment. It was my safe place after so much was unstable and confusing. There's absolutely no way possible that my family could have been with me if not for the Fisher House. It would not have been possible for my parents to be by my side if it wasn't for the Fisher House. For us, the Fisher House was not just a room to stay in. The Fisher House gave us all a support system in a super confusing time. They gave us guidance, help. They gave us a team. But for me, the Fisher House gave this wounded warrior the greatest gift that you could ever ask for. The organization gave me my family. So, sorry, waterproof mascara, we're good. Thank you so much. My story is not rare, which is why the Cleveland Fisher House is vital to the recovery of our heroes. I cannot be more proud to be speaking to you about how this home is an absolute game changer, helping to change lives, helping to save lives, really. Please find me and my parents if you have any questions regarding our experience, or feel free to reach out to me anytime or on my Facebook page, Kelly Hunt's Road to Recovery, that we started at the attack so we could reach out to veterans and be able to help in any way possible. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and welcome to Cleveland Fisher Houses.
Thank you for your service, Kelly, and thank you for your incredible story and the inspiration you give us all. It is my pleasure to invite Cleveland City Councilman Kevin Conwell from Ward 9 to the podium. His support throughout this process has just been immeasurable. He has dedicated to our community, and we certainly appreciate all that he's done to welcome the Fisher House to the neighborhood.
I want to thank all the veterans for their services. And Susan, thank you. Anytime I can visit the VA hospital, even unannounced, Mr. Mayor, she just let me drop by, and sometime I drop by with my band, and we play for the veterans free of charge. And we kick it, man, we kick it. They really, really dig it, so I really dig doing that. That's the least I can do because you guys do so much, you have done so much for us. So I really, really appreciate that. I want to say thank you also to my colleague, Tony Brancatelli. He's right there, Council Member Tony Brancatelli. And there was Council Member Kevin Kelly here. Tony chairs the Cuyahoga County Land Bank, and when we were consolidating the land, all I had to do is reach over there to Tony, and you got it done, man. So I really, really appreciate it, Council Member. Matter of fact, I live the next street over from here, so you know I'm very, 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 very proud of this building being here. I live on Ashbury, right the next street over. And let me switch gears to Ken Fisher. This plaque is for you. This is a special thank you from the city of Cleveland and Cuyahoga County as well, and our 400,000 residents in the city of Cleveland, sir, as well as the county, the 1.3 million residents that we have at the county. And the Fisher House family and Ken Fisher for investing in the future of our county, our state, and the city, as well as in the Glenville community. The city of Cleveland cherishes this opportunity to honor the veterans and their family members who will call Greater Cleveland Fisher House their home away from home. While receiving care at the Lewis Stokes Cleveland VA Medical Center, this award is from our mayor, special thank you, Mayor Frank Jackson, Councilmember Kevin Conwell, my wife, County Council Yvonne Conwell, as well as the Famicos Foundation. We really appreciate you. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Yes. Okay. And I just want to say this. Your project touched me. It's about families. And the county, as well as the city, is all about families. And like seeing this young man here, it reminds me of fathers and families together. All the families while they're attending the VA hospital. So you're keeping families together. And that's very, very important. That's touching to me. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Thank you, Councilman. At this time, I'd like to welcome Cleveland City Mayor Frank Jackson to say a few words about the city's commitment to veterans. As you know, Mayor Jackson is a Vietnam veteran, and he continues to support Cleveland's veterans every chance he gets. Mr. Mayor.
Good morning. You know, I want to congratulate Fisher House, the Greater Cleveland Fisher House, the foundation, of course, all the veterans and their family, and thank them for their service. And congratulations to the VA hospital also. But, you know, I was told before the ceremony began that it took 10 years to do this, and from the vision to the reality. And what that indicated to me that there were a lot of people who put in a lot of hard work to make it happen. And I know there are many people who are congratulated, but there are always those who do the grunt work that don't get the recognition, and I want to really thank them and congratulate them also. But what that indicates to me is the love, the commitment, and the compassion of the people who made this happen. Without that, it would never have happened, and they would not have had the tenacity and the stick-to-itness that it needed to have in order to be successful. So again, congratulations, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Jackson. Please welcome Ohio Secretary of State, Frank LaRose. Secretary LaRose is Ohio's 51st Secretary of State and a U.S. Army veteran. State of Ohio has a strong network of support for our nation's heroes through the Department of Veteran Services and beyond. Secretary LaRose.
Well, thank you. Keeping the promise. Keeping the promise. Pretty simple idea, but for 240 years, over 240 years of our nation's history, that's been our responsibility. As we've sent fighting men and women to do the work of protecting the sovereignty and security of this nation, we've made them and their families a promise that we would take care of them should something happen. Our men and women that go into combat do so knowing that if the worst happens, that their families and they will be taken care of. Now, throughout our nation's history, we haven't always fulfilled that promise as well as we should. But today, here in Cleveland, Ohio, we're keeping that promise. We're keeping the promise to our military men and women, but more importantly, to their families. As Lori said, I had the chance to serve for 10 years in uniform. And during my time in uniform, I got to meet some of the bravest, boldest, most patriotic, resilient people you'll ever meet. I'm not talking about my brothers and sisters in uniform, although they are those things. I'm talking about the men and women that love and support them, the family members of our service members. You see, when we go downrange, when we deploy, when we go to do the work you as a populace ask us to do, our families bear a great deal of that burden. And here at the Fisher House, we make sure that they're comforted in their time of greatest need. To me, this is inspiring work. And when we cut this ribbon this morning, this work doesn't end. In fact, it's just beginning. This is a beautiful building. And we should congratulate everyone that made it happen, these foundations, these VSOs, these public officials that helped to make it happen. But the real work begins once that ribbon falls. And the love and support that we give to our veterans and their service members here is this community's responsibility, all of us in Northeast Ohio. And so let's think, each and every one of us, of some things that we can do for the ongoing work for many generations to come that'll happen inside of these walls. I really appreciate that we have General Ashenhurst here from the Ohio Department of Veterans Services, and we have Tammy Puff here from the governor's office, herself a military mom. And we as a state of Ohio leadership team are committed. I can think of one thing that my office can do. I serve as Ohio's chief elections officer as Secretary of State, and our families that end up here unexpectedly shouldn't be precluded from casting their ballots. And so we'll have families here from all 50 states. My office will be here as a help to make sure that they, come election time, can cast their ballot from right here at the Fisher House. We can connect with all 49 other secretaries of state around the country to make that happen. I'm going to introduce you to Aaron Locker from my team. Aaron, raise your hand back here. He's our Director of Veterans Liaison and Military Affairs from our office. He'll be here personally, along with me, making sure that our families can cast their ballots come election time, because obviously they should be able to continue to engage as citizens of this nation. Thank you so much to each and every one of you that made this happen. God bless our families, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Secretary. Well, developing Fisher houses on VA property is a partnership between Fisher House Foundation and the Department of Veterans Affairs. Here to speak on behalf of VA and to talk about the strong partnership and commitment to taking care of veterans and their families is Deputy Chief Officer, Patient Care Services, Care Management, Chaplain and Work, Social Work, Ms. Lisa Pape. Lisa.
Thank you, Lori. Is that the longest title? I have to change that. It's ridiculous. So I'm back in Cleveland. This is my home VA. It's where it was my very first job as a social worker in the homeless dom, as Sue said. And I couldn't be more delighted to address you all. I love Cleveland. Cleveland rocks, right? Good. On behalf of Secretary Wilkie, I'm honored to join the dedication of these two amazing Fisher houses. And Director Fuhrer thanked everybody, so I'll just thank my friends on stage and all of our friends in the audience that Sue already thanked, but nobody has thanked Director Fuhrer. So thank you for her vision, commitment, and you're leaning in to get this labor of love finished. Everybody knows. Thank you, Sue. But most of all, we really need to be thanking Army veteran Kelly Hunt. And thank you, Kelly, for sharing your story. Where'd she go? There you are. Thank you, Kelly. You are why we do what we do with the Fisher Foundation. So thank you and your family. The difficult road that Kelly traveled required a network of care and support, first and foremost, a strong family, but also exceptional doctors, rehab professionals, and a community of people who provide care and comfort. The Cleveland Fisher House, as Kelly mentioned, becomes an extended family for Fisher House guests who will endure difficult times. Families will offer comfort and encouragement to each other through the long months of recovery, and they will also share their hopes and fears. Fisher House families form bonds that last a lifetime, and Fisher Houses make that possible. I've gone to several of these Fisher House openings, and it is always the same. These people become family to each other, and the support and lifting up that the Fisher House environment provides for the families who partake are beyond what anyone could imagine. So VA has many, many partners in our efforts to support veterans, families, and caregivers, but few have made the sort of tangible contributions to the families of wounded warriors than the Fisher family and Fisher House Foundation. For almost 30 years now, the Fisher House Foundation has given hundreds of thousands of families millions of days of free lodging, saving them hundreds of millions of dollars, but more importantly, providing the priceless guest experience that Kelly described. VA's partnership with the Fisher House Foundation is one of the most successful examples of public-private partnerships in the federal government. And I can honestly say that is not an understatement or an overstatement. We have worked with many, many, many agencies across our VA central office and in our medical centers, and none have provided what the Fisher family and the Fisher Foundation have done. This partnership extends to the local community, and the Cleveland Fisher House Project is an example of what can happen when individuals and organizations sharing a common passion by working together. I heard somebody say earlier today that this was truly a labor of love, and it was 7 or 10 years to get this done. And it does show what the community, what the VA, and what private entities can do to make this happen. VA recognizes that supporting and caring for veterans and their families isn't a mission we can accomplish alone. The mission is too important. The needs of veterans and their loved ones are too broad. Serving veterans must be a collaborative endeavor. Fisher Houses send a message of gratitude from the American people when guests need it most. It takes the great generosity and compassion of private organizations and dedicated individuals who care deeply about those who have served and their families. So to Fisher House Foundation, the Fisher family, to the generous donors, local supporters, and to everyone who shares in the wonderful work of the Fisher House Foundation, thank you. When veterans needed expert medical care, VA doctors and nurses and staff will be there. And when veterans need their loved ones' extended support and care for over many months, the Cleveland Fisher Houses will be there. From my time here in Cleveland, I know VA staff are committed to providing world-class health care for the veteran community. These Fisher Houses will allow the facility to take that commitment to the next level, and this amazing Cleveland community will embrace those guests who make these houses their homes. On behalf of all veterans and their families, and all of us at the Department of Veterans Affairs, thank you for making a real difference. May God continue to bless all of you, our veterans, their families, and this great nation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Undoubtedly, today would not be possible if it were not for the Fisher House Foundation. To date, they have helped more than 368,000 families across the world to support their loved ones as they receive care far away from their home. Their commitment to military families is unparalleled, and we are lucky to have the chairman and CEO, Ken Fisher, with us today. He is a business leader, philanthropist, with a passion for serving those who have served our country. Would you please welcome Mr. Fisher?
Thank you. Well, I have to tell you that being the last speaker is good for you because 3/4 of my remarks are now gone. But that's okay because really while I was sitting up here scribbling and crossing out, I started to think about how blessed that I am. And first off, before I I tell you why I feel that way, I want to just mention to Lori that when you were giving your welcome remarks, you were talking about your dad and how he was up there smiling, and I can only think that maybe he's sitting with Zach today. And the two of them are smiling because of what we've done here this beautiful day. I just can't think of a better way to spend it. And knowing that they're up there smiling makes me happy. And I hope you feel the same way. I was thinking about family while I was sitting here wondering what the heck I was going to say today. And I realized that I am blessed. I'm blessed in so many ways. I am blessed to be part of a family legacy that not only has made a commitment to improving the place that we live in New York City. As a matter of fact, we just opened up 2 Fisher houses in New York City last week in the borough of the Bronx, where I was born. For those of you who don't recognize the accent, this is the Bronx. Making our mark on the skyline and helping to improve the community. But we're also blessed because this legacy that has been passed down through the generations of giving back is something I'm very proud of. I have such a beautiful family. I have a beautiful wife, and I've got 3 magnificent children. I've got a wonderful son-in-law, and I have got a granddaughter. And I can't help but think of what would happen if I was in the hospital and my family couldn't be there with me. There's very little in this country that we can all agree on. Matter of fact, being a child of the 60s, growing up in the 70s, I saw this country at its most divided, and I don't know that I've seen it more divided than it is today in so many ways, but I will tell you this, that if we can't agree on one thing, and that is caring for our veterans, caring for our military servicemen and women, and caring for their families, then there's something very wrong with this country. We have to be able to give back. The entire military family serves, and that goes for veterans' families that served when their loved one was deployed, and in so many ways continue to serve today. And it's why we, specifically my uncle, who was made aware of a problem that a military family couldn't afford to stay with their loved ones when hospitalization became necessary, that Zach decided to become part of the solution. And I think that that's a lesson that we can all learn. There's many things that are wrong today. There's a lot of things that we need to fix. But we can't sit back and wait for the government to do it. We have the resources. Just by knowing people, networking, we can make a difference on our own. Look at the land bank and its relationship to these 2 houses. The land bank that acquires vacant land and blighted land and turns it into beautiful properties that now will spur the economy and create jobs and so forth. That's not something that came down from the government. That's something that came from the community. And it's the community that makes the difference. And it's why these Fisher houses are so important, because each Fisher house becomes its own community. The 16 rooms in each house, the 32 rooms in total here at the Stokes VA, will provide lodging for families within walking distance in so many cases. That's what we need to do. We need to say to ourselves, How can I help to improve my community? I think that is the lesson that we take from today. And hearing all of the stories about how long it took to bring these houses here, I can only apologize for that, because you think of Cleveland as a city. You think of New York as a city. But this is not a city. This is a community. And you should be very proud of that. It's so difficult living in a city, each one of us going through our lives and worrying about this, worrying about that, not stopping for a second and realizing how important it is to make your community strong, to function as a community. And that's why these houses are here. And I'm sorry it took so long. But I'll tell you what, if we need to come back, we'll come back quicker next time. Now, forgive me, I do have to say thank you to a bunch of people, and I know that, that our speakers have all said thank you to many people, and I don't know if everybody got thanked. So allow me 1 second. Of course, the Greater Cleveland House, Cleveland Fisher House, the Burning River Lacrosse, unbelievable amount of money that you raised. Disabled Veterans Association, Cardinal Health Foundation, the Catherine L. and Edward A. Lozick Foundation, Dominion Energy Charitable Foundation, the folks from Eaton, the Harry Donovan Family and Akron Community Foundation, the Joyce and Herbert Stylau Foundation, KeyBank, did I say that correctly, I hope? KeyBank Foundation, the Lincoln Electric Foundation, Mount Sinai Healthcare Foundation, of course our Team Fisher House fundraisers, the TurtleCon Fund, Vehicles for Veterans, and of course the many gifts of a grateful nation. Thank you for helping Fisher House make these houses a reality. In closing, let me just say this. We've had some tough weather lately. It's a beautiful day today. I know you had the polar vortex. We had a little of it in New York. It rains a lot. It snows a lot. But for the 1,000 or so families that will use this house every year, that will join the 34,000 families we're helping now every year, no matter what the weather is out here, it will always be warm and sunny in there. Thank you all for being here today. May God bless you, and may God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you. The Medal of Honor is the highest award for valor in action against an enemy force that can be bestowed upon an individual serving in the armed services of the United States. Some 3,500 service members, 70 of whom are currently living, have been awarded the Medal of Honor as a way of a grateful nation, honoring their selfless service and sacrifice. The Congressional Medal of Honor Society pays tribute to the families of service members who have made great sacrifices for our nation and our freedom by placing a Medal of Honor plaque in the Fisher House where it opens. Thank you to the National Medal of Honor Society for this recognition. And there's another transition and a tradition that symbolizes the transfer of each new Fisher House from the Fisher House Foundation to the entity that becomes responsible for its operation and maintenance the VA Northeast Ohio healthcare system. Would Dave Coker, Fisher House Foundation president, and Tyler Estelle, Greater Cleveland Fisher House manager, please come to the front. You got up here pretty quickly. Mr. Coker, on behalf of the Fisher House Foundation, please present the symbolic Fisher House key to Mr. Estelle, the Fisher House manager. The Fisher House manager who is charged with the responsibility of caring for all those who enter its doors. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending today's ceremony. This does conclude the official portion of the ceremony. However, we ask that you please remain seated just for a few moments to allow our ribbon-cutting participants to make their way to the front of the Greater Cleveland Fisher House for the ribbon cutting. With the representatives from the following organizations, please make your way to the ribbon cutting area around to the front. Burning River Lacrosse, Disabled Veterans Association, the Harry Donovan Family Akron Community Foundation, Turtle Con Fund, the Key Bank Foundation, the Catherine L. and Edward A. Lozick Foundation, the Lincoln Electric Foundation, the Dominion Energy Charitable Foundation, Mount Sinai Healthcare Foundation, the Joyce and Herbert Stillwell Foundation, Cardinal Health Foundation, Team Fisher House Fundraisers, Vehicles for Veterans.